All right, folks, so welcome back to the Malzberg panel, where we are rejoined by retired Major General in the U.S. Army, founder of Stand Up America, Paul E. Vallely, and founder and CEO of Red Mind Solutions and redmindsolutions.org, Frank Wuco. Gentlemen, let me ask you, earlier we had a guest, a security expert from Israel. Does it seem strange to you, General, that all of a sudden almost, I mean, if you go back to last week, Israel wasn't going to get out of Gaza. They were going to stay there during any ceasefire. They were going to make sure they got every tunnel. And now they say they think they got them all, but, you know, they might have missed some. And I'm just a little confounded as to why they gave up that hard line.
Well, I'm confounded, too. I know they're meeting in Cairo again to orchestrate some kind of a continuation of the ceasefire, but I don't understand it, because their commitment to really demilitarize and neuter the forces in Gaza, not only of the tunnels, but also of the Hamas leadership. Now, I don't know how much or how many of the Hamas leadership have been eliminated, but certainly you've got a vast inventory probably still remaining of weapons and ammunition, and some inventory of rockets. And they're going to be resupplied again by Hezbollah, supported by Iran. So I'm not sure why they're doing it. I think they need to go across the goal line there and make sure that Hamas is completely taken out of action and neutralized.
Yeah, Frank, was this U.S. pressure, international pressure? I mean, it just kind of turned on a dime.
Yeah, it's with the Israelis. I mean, one thing we have to do is give the Israelis the benefit of the doubt that they have a much better idea of what's going on the ground than we do, and that comes from an intelligence standpoint as well. So their SIGINT capabilities and their human capabilities inside Gaza are they've got the place covered. So it could be something that was underway for a while. I mean, the Israelis go into situations like this at great cost, both financially to their country, and in this case, many lives cost. So these aren't cheap or inexpensive operations for the Israelis to conduct, and they probably seek a return to normalcy as much as anybody does. But once they make the investment, it's hard to believe that the Israelis are going to disengage, if not having fully met their objective, then at least having set Hamas back very, very far in their ability to plan and execute operations.
And it'll be very interesting to see. We have word that Israeli negotiators are headed to Cairo and will be there within the context, CNN's reporting, within the context of the 72-hour ceasefire, which is now about 14 hours old and supposedly holding. I thank both of you gentlemen, General Vallely and Frank Wuco. Thank you very much. It's great to talk to you, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, my pleasure. All right, folks, very interesting. It just struck me, the other day that it happened so quickly. We'll be back with Ed Klein and more of the Steve Malzberg Show, and Ed Klein has some breaking news as to whether or not the Kennedys want Elizabeth Warren to run for president. But first, this hour's American Moment takes a look back at the attack of the USS Missouri.
Christened on January 29, 1944, by the daughter of future President Harry S. Truman, the USS Missouri was our country's last great battleship and rapidly became the pride of the American Navy. On the 11th of April, 1945, she was attacked by a kamikaze pilot who crashed his aircraft into her starboard side, causing minor damage, which can still be seen to this day. The Missouri's commander, Captain William N. Callahan, ordered the pilot's body to be recovered so he could be buried at sea with full military honors. Serving with distinction throughout the Great War and beyond, it seemed only fitting when General of the Army Douglas MacArthur chose her as the site of the Empire of Japan's unconditional surrender. On the day of the signing, September 2nd, 1945, General MacArthur put little trust in his former adversary, so as a precaution, he ordered over 1,000 Allied combat aircraft to fill the skies over Tokyo Bay as a warning to the Japanese. Should they be planning anything but complete and unconditional surrender, retribution would be swift and complete. With her decks filled with sailors and soldiers alike, Supreme Allied Commander Douglas MacArthur began the ceremonies. he took his pen and handed it to General Jonathan Wainwright. Wainwright was touched. He had stayed on in the Philippines during the 1941 Japanese invasion, survived the Bataan Death March, and spent 4 years in a Japanese POW camp. A new long peace between Japan and America had begun. Big Mo, as she was affectionately known, permanently dropped anchor in Pearl Harbor on January 29, 1999, and opened as a museum, forever commemorating the site where America's involvement in World War II began and where it ended. For Newsmax TV, I'm Bill Curtis, and this is an American Moment.